Well, good morning, everyone. We got some updates as usual. I guess in general terms, I'll say that I am feeling much better today. Last night, I had the opportunity to take my standard route around the same time up through the fire area, and what I witnessed was very encouraging compared to the previous night. So I don't want to overstate it, and I know I have the true fire professional off my left shoulder, and he is being very cautious, but I think yesterday we made some tremendous grounds, or gained some tremendous ground, especially when it came to the structure protection. I saw a lot of resources in there, and I heard them on the radio last night. They were really hopping. Law enforcement was in there very heavy, a lot of traffic, and they were directing the firefighters to where they were witnessing flare-ups or hot spots, and keeping any damage to a minimum. So I thought last night was a success. It, to me, was kind of that turning point we've been looking for, so I'm pretty encouraged by it, but I don't want to put a lot of pressure on our firefighters. I know that circumstances can change, and we're going to expect a little bit of wind today, but you notice we have some cloud cover. That's to our favor, and the winds are calm throughout the night for the most part, and right now we're not sitting here talking into the wind, so that's a good sign as well. I guess more on a lighthearted note, those of you that have not washed your cars yet, please wash them and park them outside, and that will ensure some moisture, and we're hopeful that we see some of that today. Some of the more common questions that come up is a lot of concern with looting or burglaries. Last night we did not have any reports. I say that with caution because sometimes in the darkness we don't necessarily see it until morning comes or until people start moving around, but I felt that was pretty encouraging. I know our people were responding. Yesterday I had made the comment that if you suspect something, if neighbors see something, please call. Don't think you're bothering us. We got a lot of calls, we were doing a lot of follow-up, and it was a lot of positive contact. I think a group that I have failed to mention is a group of volunteers that have been working diligently through all hours of the night for animal rescue, going and looking for animals of owners and bringing trailers in. And we had a lot of them in last night in the darkness trying to locate animals, and I think that shows another level of dedication where a group of volunteers are truly trying to help put people's mind at ease. And actually quite a few of those guys or people that were in trying to do animal rescue, we got calls on, we had contacted them, and it was all legitimate, and that's what kind of made me remind myself that that was another unheard set of public servants really out trying to do the best they can for those that are concerned about animals. We're still sitting around 38,000 people impacted by this fire. We have affected about 93,000 acres. One of the good signs, I think, is the fact that we've been able to narrow down the impacted acreage. It's right around 13 to 1,500 acres. We have the infrared kind of giving us the 1,300. We're still saying the top is 1,500. To me, it doesn't matter. All I know is it's not a lot more than that. And I think that's a good sign because the last few mornings, the acreage has increased. So I think the firefighters, the strategies employed have done real well, and we did not lose large chunks of land last night. There's been a lot of concerns and questions about my use of the term criminal investigation, homicide investigation. When I say homicide investigation, it's because we have 2 deceased people, and we investigate it and treat it as though it's a crime until we prove otherwise. It does not imply anything. It's common terminology that we use, and so I just want to not anyone to run with some kind of take it as an insinuation that we suspect something. We're going to go through, investigate, and we're going to draw conclusions based on facts. And the investigative process is that fact-finding process. So we're moving forward. We have an active investigation for the cause of this fire. We're narrowing down what we believe the point of origin, so we are making progress on that. But in order to help aid those investigators, we're starting to get a lot of information coming in, so I'd like to give you 2 ways to reach. We've created a call-in tip line, and that number is 444-8393. We're going to try to staff that line at least 12, 14 hours a day. It is staffed right now, and if nobody answers, please leave a message. We will get back to you, and that person will be taking the information and forwarding it right to the investigators. That's about the most efficient way we can handle that. We also have established an email for people that have photos that they think will be helpful, or if they just want to send in a message and contact information that we can follow up on. That email is going to be Black Forest Fire Tip Line, all one word, at elpasoco.com. So the email is Black Forest Fire Tip Line at elpasoco.com. Other than that, I think we'll turn it over to the incident commander, Rich Harvey, and let him talk a little bit about the fire behavior and the strategies that they'll be exercising today and give an update on that.
Thanks, Terry. I'm Rich Harvey, incident commander for the Black Forest Fire. As Terry said last night, the firefighters had a good night, and they were really busy, and that's the official fit for publication release. They said they were busier than you know what last night, and that was kind of good for them. One thing I'd like to kind of start with is they took about 40 to 45 calls that came into them from law enforcement. So our firefighters are out patrolling the fire out there, and they're looking for hot spots, they're looking for structures that are threatened, and they're taking actions. But they also got they're tapping into the law enforcement that are patrolling the area looking for security violations and that type of stuff. They took 40 to 45 calls that came in to us from law enforcement. About 25% of those calls resulted in the firefighters being able to take direct intervention action that directly resulted in the saving of some structures. So between what the firefighters are finding and what the cops are finding out there, we're doing a pretty good job, we think, of identifying the hot spots that are still interior and threatening those structures. We also have a group of firefighters on the perimeter of the fire that did some progress last night, tying in dozer lines to road lines, doing a little bit of burnout operations. They did a 3 to 5 acre burnout, tied some stuff together. So we feel last night we had a good operation. We didn't lose any real ground, we didn't lose any structures. So that gives us a good thing to work off of going forward for this morning. So we're waking up and getting out there, got everybody briefed at 0600 this morning, and we're pretty optimistic about the day, but we're also very cognizant of the weather forecast, very cognizant of what can happen to us, so we're being cautious. And what I can do, if I'll step back to the map a little bit, I'll work around it and tell you what we're working on today. And so this is our Division Alpha down here. This is where we had a lot of hot stuff yesterday. We have beefed up the resources coming into Division A. We're concerned about this and coming this way. There's a little bit of heat still in here last night. So and help me out with what's the name of that subdivision?
High Forest.
High Forest. We have a lot of people coming into High Forest from this side. We have tied in this road system here at High Forest down this way. I think it's called Shipley Ranch. Just came to me. And there's a dozer line now between Highway 83, this west flank of the fire, and it's tied in north-south on the west flank. So that's going to be where we're going to keep a big focus today, both on cleaning up the heat in these structures here and here, and connecting the dots, making sure that stays good for us today. Moving across the north part of the fire, the fuel type change in here smells really nice. Everywhere it's grass, we're winning really good. So we're pretty happy with that. Getting into this area up in here, we're still holding a lot of heat in there. It didn't do a lot to us last night. This is again another area of focus. We want to start getting it down. The east edge, we've got heat in these areas. You can kind of see a little bit of the orange stuff here. This is hot on the Brinkerhoff Road area, this kind of stuff. Meridian is still holding really strong on this side, nothing over it at all. But you can see in the orange here, these are areas that are kind of hot. As we move around, solid here, really good. That's our containment. Coming down in here with, we call it Section 16, but I think it's where you guys call it the School of the Woods. This line was completed last night and looked good, according to our division supervisor, but it's still got heat, so we're going to keep a good eye on that today. So we've got forces all around. We're calling them our perimeter guys. Then we also have our structure protection group that we've got established in the middle. And so basically they patrol inside, deal with anything that flares up, whether it comes to us from law enforcement or our own eyesight. The guys on the outside, their job is to keep the fire on the inside. So we've got an inside-outside approach. We've also tapped a lot of the local fire protection districts. And two of them in particular we've been working with really close are the Westcott Fire Protection District over this way and Chief Vinnie Byrne. And then a little bit more kind of pre-planning what is Tri-Lakes Monument Fire Protection District and Chief Chris Trudy. So we are tied in with those guys and their folks. Two of them that we worked with yesterday, Black Forest and I forget the name now. Falcon. Those guys are built into our IAP, our Incident Action Plan for the day. They've got task force available to our firefighters to come out and roll into there if we ask for them. They're built into our IAP. They are tied in with us all across the board. So it's a very collaborative effort that we have planned, that we're working with the locals, we're working with the people that came in with us, and all that. Our aviation assets are strong. We didn't lose anything from yesterday. We are the same basic aviation assets this morning. So we've got the heavy air tankers, we've got the Type 1 helicopters from both commercial, well, all three I guess you'd say, from commercial sources, from Title 10 military and Title 32, and I'm sure Mitch will touch on that a lot better than I did. But we've got the Air Force ready to go. We've got the ground troops in position. We're cognizant of the weather. We got an eye on it. But hopefully, if we can build off of the success we had last night, we're going to start to turn the corner. As Terry said, I don't know, the corner's a long ways away, but we are certainly moving towards turning the corner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Just take that as a clue. We're ready to turn the corner. How's that? Next, I'd like to bring up Colonel Utterback, who's just been a phenomenal asset to this effort. Sure, appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning, neighbors. And I'm talking to all my real neighbors and everybody in town and in the county. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Mitch Utterback. I'm from the Colorado National Guard. I'm the military liaison to the Incident Command Post. Those are my two bosses back there. I got some other bosses up at State National Guard headquarters. I'd like to tell you what our men and women in uniform are doing to serve this community right now. And let me tell you, here's what they say. Man, it is great to be serving Americans. Having served other countries for the last 10.5 or 11 years. I'll mention some units by name so that they know that they're getting credit where credit's due. The 52nd Engineers, the bulldozer folks, are out here again today. I'll just say the military name, the 2-4 GSAB, the General Support Aviation Battalion out of Fort Carson. They're flying again today. The first Chinooks and Blackhawks you see every morning flying from the south to the north are coming from Fort Carson. They are happy to be doing what they're doing, and they're doing a great job. From the Colorado National Guard, I'm remiss. I didn't mention Rich Harvey's secret weapon yesterday. The 1157th Firefighters from the Colorado Army National Guard. We have military firefighters on the fire line in very large, dark green. According to the firefighters, all fire trucks are red. National Guard fire trucks are dark green. They are out there on the fire line protecting your homes. We have over 130 security personnel locking down your neighborhoods and your intersections. We have National Guard helicopters dropping water, and a National Guard helicopter controlling the helicopter fight. If you get back to your home and you think you have something that looks like water damage from the roof, you owe a thanks to a helicopter pilot. If you get back to your home and it looks like some high-powered hose has been used to rip up the fire and knock down a structure that was burning nearby, you owe thanks to the National Guard firefighters. Might not never know that exactly who that was, but I just want to let you know, the folks in uniform out there, we're fighting what we call the Battle of Black Forest, and we're happy to be doing it. Let me clarify and ask a few favors. Man, when a helicopter's dipping water in a pond, that looks awesome. However, we'd like you to stay back a little bit from those dip sites. Don't get too close to the ponds where the helicopters are dipping water. If that pilot had an emergency of any kind, the first thing he or she is going to do is drop that bucket and drop the line, and it might not fall straight back down in the pond. So please stay a safe distance back from the dip sites. I'd also like to clarify something I saw on the news. There are not active duty troops in Fort Carson doing checkpoints. That's only National Guard. It's only National Guard out there doing security checkpoints. Hey, let me look at my notes because sleep deprivation has a way of getting to you a little bit. You know, we have a thing called a dual status commander now. There's one officer who, through coordination chains, helps coordinate the active duty and the National Guard response. That's not me. That's somebody way above my level. But we are very streamlined in our ability to deliver military resources to this fight, as we call it. Sheriff said something about the security of the neighborhoods. You know, we're all concerned about what happened last summer. Let me tell you a personal story. I drove to an evacuated neighborhood last night, and it is tough. In a military uniform, with an ID even, with your name in the incident action plan to get into a restricted area. I want to personally thank Officer Darnell from the UCCS Police Department for escorting me through my neighborhood. I want to thank Detective Will Hemming from the Colorado Springs Police for escorting me the other way. Neighbors, all night long, law enforcement are driving through your neighborhoods with the lights on. You can't see it now because you're not in those neighborhoods. You can't get to those, you can't even get to your street because of the people that are there looking out for you. You should also know that your men and women serving our country overseas in Afghanistan have had to evacuate from some homes. So not only do we have first responders and members of the community that are out of their houses, we got soldiers overseas who are paying attention to what you are reporting now here. So please continue to report accurately because they're watching on the Armed Forces Network, paying attention to your information so that they can pay attention to what's going on in Afghanistan because you're getting them the information at home. One last thing, Trudy, sorry about your house, but thank you for continuing to serve the members of this community as you do. Folks, it's an honor. All the military are grateful for your support, and I just want to emphasize, we are so happy to be serving the citizens of this community and serving our country, and we're going to continue to do it and continue to express your gratitude to them when you see them as well. Thanks.
I think I'll have Chief Tommy Smith come up and he can talk more to the evacuation area in the city.
Good morning, Tommy Smith, Interim Fire Chief for the Colorado Springs Fire Department. Yesterday at 2 o'clock, we issued a mandatory evacuation for the neighborhood of Flying Horse. That mandatory evacuation will remain in effect. We are talking with the Type 1 team, and we looked at the weather conditions and the fire conditions for today. We don't think the fire is going to move into the neighborhood last night. We had several crews out patrolling the areas. No fire reported in Flying Horse. We think we're going to be okay, but we want to err on the side of caution and not put people back in too quickly. And so tomorrow morning we'll get with the Type 1 team and we'll reassess the evacuation order to make a determination whether or not we can lift it. Just want to let you know, CSPD has about 35, 40 officers in the Flying Horse neighborhood along with some National Guard members that are patrolling and make sure no looting takes place. Also, CSFD will be out in the neighborhood throughout the day and the night to make sure that we're patrolling for brand patrol and also doing structure protection. We have a rep from our department that's part of the Type 1 team, so that if anything were to occur and we thought fire was going to come into the area, getting those resources from Commander Harvey is going to be pretty seamless. One thing we would learn from last year is that we need those resources to move as quickly as possible because sometimes this fire is unpredictable And so we're working with the Type 1 team very closely to make sure that we have the resources that we need in the event it does come into the city. Thank you.
I'll ask Councilman Joel Miller to step up. He can follow up with what the chief talked about as it relates to the city of Colorado Springs.
Hi, my name is Joel Miller. I'm the council representative for the area that was evacuated yesterday in the city of Colorado Springs. First thing I wanted to do is let residents know who have evacuated. Their biggest concern right now is, of course, is security. And I want them to know that I did drive the perimeter of the Flying Horse neighborhoods, Greyhawk, area around Serenity Park, apartment complexes on Voyager, and there is at every entrance to those neighborhoods a barricade, a Colorado Springs Police Department patrol car, and an officer, and it is airtight, just like Colonel Uterbach mentioned. So security of your neighborhoods, I assure you, is definitely there. And Chief Smith also reiterate that there are Colorado Springs Fire Department assets there for structure protection should it be needed, and they're also watching for looters. So safe and secure is what we're all hoping for. And as the incident commander mentioned, our crews worked really hard to get that western line built yesterday, but until they're absolutely sure that it's going to hold, then this evacuation order will remain intact, but they'll be evaluating it regularly to try to get folks back into their homes. On behalf of Colorado Springs City Council, I just wanted to make sure that you all know that your elected officials are very engaged. They're volunteering at answering phones, doing whatever we can to support city staff and the county officials to get this job done. And we wanted to express our heartfelt gratitude to Colorado Springs Fire Department, the Police Department, the countless jurisdictions that have come from all over the state, our military forces, National Guard, the Reserve, and also the members of the community who've opened up their homes to those who've evacuated, who've donated to charities to help, who've volunteered at evacuation centers, and who've offered prayers for all the victims and for all the folks who are being evacuated and displaced. We also want to thank Colorado Springs Utilities. They've got countless crews that are working from wildland fire teams to earth movers trying to cut lines, to reducing gas pressure for evacuated areas in the event that something happens where they have to turn off that. So there's just a coordinated effort, and it just makes us all very proud to be part of this community and representing it. And we also, on the behalf of City Council, wanted to express our deep condolences for the family and friends of those who perished in this fire. So thank you very much.
Good morning, I'm Dennis Heisey, Chair of the El Paso County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to give you an update on what the county's doing with the Disaster Assistance Center. It is at 1645 Garden of the Gods Road. It's in our main building down there, the Citizen Service Center. It will be open 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening. Today, Saturday, Sunday, we're going right through the weekend. We encourage people to come in and see the resources that we have available. If you anticipate that your child care provider will be evacuated and you can't get in for child care as you need to go to work next week, come in and go to the table about child care and see who can help. If you think you're going to be needing short-term housing, a month-by-month lease somewhere at apartments, come in. We have people that are willing to do that. Apartments have stepped up and said we can do that. If you're a veteran, we have a Veterans Service Affairs officer there. If you have your family, your pets with you, we have child care there on site as well as pet care, so you can come in and you can deal with the various agencies, insurance agencies, anyone else that you need to deal with, knowing that your pets and your children are being taken care of while you're there. So I would encourage anyone who is affected, and especially those that believe they're going to be affected for more than just a few days, to come in and see us at the Citizen Service Center. Yesterday we serviced over 217 families. Bill Hibble from the El Pomar Foundation, along with Terrence McWilliams, hand-delivered us a check yesterday for $250,000 that the county is dispersing. Every dollar of that will go to the citizens and the families that are affected in the Black Forest fire. It's designed to be a bit of a stopgap between those, for those out-of-pocket expenses that the insurance companies won't be covering for you. So know that those funds are available on a limited basis. Also, if you wish to contribute cash as opposed to bringing food, water, other supplies to Care and Share, the Pikes Peak Community Foundation, they're accepting cash donations. So if you want to give cash, please contact the Pikes Peak Community Foundation. Also, if you want to call the Disaster Assistance Center and see, you know, should I come down, would it be useful? The number is 444-8301. That's 444-8301. So we're up and running, we're open for business, and we can help out a lot of folks that are needing some temporary help right now, and we'll be there for you as long as you need us. Let me bring up Daryl Glenn now, your district representative.
Good morning. I'm Daryl Glenn, El Paso County Commissioner, representing the northeast section of Colorado, of El Paso County. Again, I want to thank everybody for all their support and prayers. I am going to announce that we are going to have a community meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the Lewis Palmer High School auditorium. That was already planned for a town hall meeting, but obviously with the circumstances here, we're changing the scope of that meeting. I'm primarily reaching out to the citizens that have been impacted by the fire. If you're in a pre-evacuation zone, it is an open meeting, anybody can attend. I'm going to have Commissioner Peggy Littleton there with me. We're going to go over some emergency preparedness issues and things that you should work on as far as checklists. But I also want to have an opportunity to get people together. We are a family. I want to find out how you're doing. I want to find out if there are issues that you're concerned about that I can follow up on. I want to find out, get some feedback on the services that we are providing. So again, please take time tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Lewis Palmer High School auditorium. It's scheduled from 10 to noon, but I'm going to stay there as long as necessary to make sure that you know that you're not in this alone. And again, please come out and keep Black Forest in your prayers. Thank you very much.
All right, I think we're approaching the conclusion of this press conference. I did want to talk about one more topic. We had another major update to our preliminary assessment on the home damage and so forth. We still have about 7,000, a little over 7,000 homes that we are out surveying. We've been doing most of that work in the darkness at night, and we began a transition. We shut it down last night about 1 a.m. Those folks were starting at 7 or 8 a.m. this morning, and they'll be working through the day to continue expanding that, as well as use daylight to go into some of those areas that are a little harder to find and see, as well as get out of their cars, walk around the residence, and get a little bit more of a better assessment. I know we've received a few calls on inconsistencies where somebody said, no, I heard my house was this, or my house is not listed. We are working to address those. If you think about it, in a very short period of time, under darkness, being kicked out of areas where fire flared up and trying to go back in, they have surveyed about 2,200 homes. They are going back, re-verifying, double checking to make sure if we had it down as standing, that it is still standing. It's a very time-intensive process. So I applaud their efforts. They're relaying information back to the office, trying to keep it updated. And it's my understanding, in speaking with our folks last night, they plan to have a couple updates throughout the day today. I know these initial ones have usually been on about a 24-hour period. That was to get the bulk up there. If you've been following it, you'll see the ease of use is improving every time they roll it out. So they feel real comfortable where it is now, and at least the technology part, and plan on working throughout the day. We still have 12 staff assigned to that, and not only are they assigned to checking the homes, they become part of that security. They're in marked units, they're law enforcement. What they see, what they witness, they're passing on. If it's fire related, they're calling the firefighters. If the firefighters see something like a door ajar, they're calling law enforcement. There's so much of that coordination But there's an unsaid group that nobody really hears about, and I want to acknowledge them. Those are the people, the volunteers, the civilian employees that are behind the scenes, that are making a lot of what you see here happen. Whether it's at the incident command, whether it's down in my office. You know, we have people calling saying, I just want to help. We're embedding them into the process. They're answering phones, taking calls. They may not always have the answer, but they're there, they're passing it on to somebody that does, and I think we owe them a great debt of gratitude. They often don't get, you know, thought of in times like this. We think of the people on the front line flying the birds in the uniforms, but I'll tell you, they couldn't do their job if it wasn't for those civilians behind the scenes and the volunteers that are coming in. Our tip lines will be transitioning, and we'll have volunteers working those. We have volunteers inputting the data for the home assessment, and a lot of volunteers out in the field helping wherever they can to support those folks in uniform. So they deserve a lot of credit, and I certainly want to express my appreciation because I know how valuable they are to the overall effort.